नमस्कार आणि येवकार तुमकां गोवा कनेक्टाच्या एका वेगळ्या एपिसोडान आणि ह्या एपिसोडान आमी डील करता सायक्लोन तौते येवन गेलो सगळ्याक ब्लॅकआउट जालो द स्टेट वॉज बॅटलिंग फॉर मोर दॅन 4-5 days अंडर डार्कनेस आणि ह्याच विशयाचेर आय वॉन्ट टू इंट्रोड्यूस माय गेस्ट हू वील शेअर अ लिटल मोर लायट इन टर्म्स ऑफ हाऊ टू मॅनेज electrical infrastructure, that is in a cyclone like situation or natural calamities, and also looking forward how should Goa build its infrastructure to make it power strong. I have with me Ninad Pitale Project Director, that is Goa Tamnar Transmission Project Limited. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, it's been quite some time that we have met. Last time we had spoken about the project and in detail and how things are. Now, what has happened is for the past couple of days, the cyclone hit us and hit us badly. And almost the entire state was in darkness, and a lot of areas were still in darkness for like 4 to 5 days. Now, obviously, everybody has realized that we have to upgrade our infrastructure, electrical infrastructure. How do you see this particular situation, and how does the state should deal with these natural calamities in future?
Thank you. So, firstly, I would like to say that my thoughts and prayers are with the people who are affected by this cyclone. It was really a very, very serious and difficult situation for everybody. And people have faced so many of losses. We are also, sadly, we have lost some lives.
True.
So, this is very painful. As well, more than this staying away from power for next 2 to 3 days after the cyclone passed has brought a lot of mental agony and problems to the people.
True.
Because it's very difficult now from staying away from a basic necessity like power and associated issues with that, because power connects water scarcity, everything. It's a cascading effect. So really it has been a challenging time for all the fellow Goans, and I mean, I'm also one of them who definitely has faced through that, because living here we had our shares. But on saying that, also thankful to the electricity department and government for showing some quick
response
measures. They've really worked in these rains, while the rains were continuing and in this pandemic situation, to make the best efforts and try to bring it back to normalcy. So really thankful to that. So having said that, so I can only once again reiterate that this particular scenario has just shaken us and shown that what happens when we completely go out of electricity and how helpless things happen. So this time the episode was, say, 3 days, 4 days, being majorly the impact on the internal infrastructure. Also, there was an impact on the incoming line of 220 kV from Ambewadi. Then again, the team did a good job on restoring it as early as possible. So that way, the incoming flow was again maintained. However, this particular situation also makes us realize, and just a scenario of fear scenario, if at all this storm was a little bit more powerful or has come more towards Goa or towards the western side, and any damages or anything on the main source what Goa has now are very, very devastating effect on state. Because that exactly the point is that at the moment the dependency of Goa is only on one source, which is always very scary. So it's a very simple example, like even now when the power went off, there must be some people who were equipped with diesel generators or inverter, which might have served them for some time, or diesel generators might have served them as an alternate source. So they had an alternate available. But what about the general population or each man who is not keeping that kind of alternate available? So all depend on the power which is provided by the department.
Correct.
In that case, if the department also has only one source, and if that source goes off due to any calamity or any kind of natural disaster, so we are looking into a scenario where that days can convert to maybe half a month, a fortnight, or a month, which is very, very scary situation. So that exactly calls for this and looking into this aspect only. So any particular concept or the projects are conceptualized, looking into the factors and scenarios, and also to take care of this kind of unknown nodes kind of a country. So with that reason only this whole project was conceptualized to
Okay.
bring in redundancy to Goa, which
Okay.
is not available at the moment. So redundancy to Goa as well as strengthen the infrastructure by connecting the northern part with southern part
Yeah.
and directly connecting South Goa with the 400 kV connection,
Correct.
which is not present at the moment. So as we are all aware, the 400 kV connection for through the state is only up to North Goa, that is in Mapsa.
Yeah.
From there on, it is all distributed on the domestic network of 130 kV, 220 kV. So with this infrastructure getting created, South Goa getting connected directly with 400 kV, that will improve the infrastructure. And as we know that this particular are on towers, larger lines. So definitely these particular things are not prone to each and every cyclonic things or heavy rainfall and wind. Whereas the local distribution network is always susceptible because of heavy winds and all can take toll on poles and all those things.
Okay.
But definitely, so this infrastructure creation, getting more power to South Goa direct connection, and more importantly, getting connected with southern grid with a 400 kV line, which projects intend to do, will bring in that particular infrastructure boost to the state that we will be in a way prepared.
Correct.
So in case some sort of natural calamity takes out your one source, you will always have another source. So it is a bare minimum requirement, I would say, not a luxury. To
Correct.
have an alternate one additional source is a bare minimum requirement. And that exactly this project is all about. And that is why it was always about additional feed to Goa. The tagline of the project by the government itself was additional 400 kV feed to Goa. Because it is very much required, which is, I hope now it is understood why the alternate is required.
I think the last couple of days people have realized that electricity is not no more a luxury. I think it is a necessity that everyone should have. The cyclone has just realized us, and obviously as we get into the monsoon season, I think we'll realize it more. I just want to understand one thing is in terms of power consumption scenario, both North Goa versus South Goa. How you've done a lot of research in that. How do you see this power requirement or power distribution across these two districts?
So the thing is, right now, how as Goa has only 400 kV connection to up to Mappa, which was constructed in 2003. So up to that, you get a 400 kV grid power from Western.
Yes.
From southern grid, from Ramagundam, what you get the power, only 100 megawatt is taken from south, is to the 220 kV line, which comes from Karnataka, Ambewadi to Ponda. So as we had, I think, spoken last time
Correct.
also, if you see the bifurcation, almost 85% power dependency is on western grid, and only 15% is coming from south. Now that 15% is definitely very equally important because that is what directly comes to south. So
It
from
caters the
that
South Goa.
side,
Yeah.
it caters the South Goa, but however, it again caters South Goa through north itself because that line comes to Ponda, and from Ponda then it is
Diverted.
fed to Chennai as well as it is being shared to. So that way the dependency is still on. It is a huge strain on the internal infrastructure for pumping out of power from north to south always. And that's the reason this infrastructure is required, that you have because both the states should have a bare minimum one substation of 400 kV. So each state can get direct 400 kV input power and it can be delivered to the nearby substation. In this case, again, this project is also taking care of creating an infrastructure of 220 kV line, connecting a new substation and
Yeah.
the existing Shelley GD substation. So with that, what it simply means is the power of 400 kV coming from western grid, which comes up to Mapsa, will also come up to Sangor, and from there at 220 kV level directly it will connect at Shelde at a very short line of 20 kilometers connect with Shelde. So Shelde can very efficiently cater to entire South Goa.
Correct.
And and that will also help in relieving the load on Ponda or North Goa infrastructure of pushing the power to South Goa. So
Okay.
that is the element. So this is the first element of the project which we are right now focusing on.
Okay.
And then you have to get another 400 kV line to bring in that reliability factor and redundancy.
Okay. Now, how life is important, everybody has realized in this pandemic, especially when the second wave hit. We have realized how hospitals were overflooded with patients, and how things were to get it. Basically, we were not able to cope up to the need that was required in the second wave. We have seen in hospitals like GMC, there was a shortage, or maybe they were still dependent on an old system of oxygen distribution. Now, Goa has been fortunate to have a GMC and also have North and South Goa district hospitals, apart from all the private hospitals that are there. In terms of government, if I want to ask you, because it caters to a lot of fortunate and unfortunate people, I just want to ask you one thing is, should basically we need to upgrade this electrical infrastructure that is there in the government hospitals, because obviously when there is a power outage, or when there are power cuts, obviously depending on a traditional source like, for example, gensets, all of these things, it doesn't work, and these are the life-saving machineries that we have in the state. How do you see this project helping, and more importantly, upgrading it to basically cater to the lives of people?
So, like I said, see, this particular project is working on a much more macro level of bringing in sufficient source to Goa, because Goa is getting power from outside the state. The major power,
Yeah.
more than 90%
Yeah.
of power is from outside the state. So, knowing that fact, we definitely should have a very strong infrastructure that there should not be any impact on that particular sources. And right now, that infrastructure definitely is there, which is that intended to build through this project. So at least with this infrastructure, you will have those sources, the main preliminary sources
Correct.
intact.
Correct.
The second step comes about your internal working, and maybe, yeah, definitely once you have a better sourcing and also very reliable sources, that if one goes off and you have alternate available,
Correct.
so you are at least and that particular point you are taken care that, yeah, your sources are intact. Then you will only focus of making sure the distribution is okay, and how you are focused on like hospitals kind of machinery where
Correct.
you have to again create some alternate options, like have proper backup system and all those things, because no matter how developed countries, hospitals like institutes always have a backup system.
Yeah.
Immaterially how consistent power grids are available from grid, but still, because the basis of everything is to consider the worst of the eventuality. So
True.
that's why when you are having some institutions like hospitals, they
Should have.
definitely should have backup.
Yeah.
But having said that, backup should be only a backup for some time. So it should be, so the most important thing is a need of a basic infrastructure so good enough that it can provide you a reliable and consistent power.
Correct. I think the source is important, and the options of sources is very important. You have a backup as a genset, obviously it would be the last resort to go. But I think as a source to the hospitals, the life-saving machineries, I think you should have at least options where it is 24/7. One, things like calamity like this happens. Obviously, there are sometimes failures. Is understood, but I think that backup should be there, and the source
Yeah.
is important here. If I also want to ask you is, obviously everybody in this lockdown last year as well as now, everybody has realized that electricity is very, very important. As I said, not a luxury but a necessity, and people want it 24/7. In this scenario, I think when you have we'll enter in a monsoon season now. Is there a need for the state pan Goa to go underground cabling? I understand that you are not in that part, but I would like to know your expertise and share your views on this particular subject.
Yeah, so if you ask my only personal level views as an
Yeah.
engineer, I would definitely say yes. There is this is not a new thing. Governments across are already working towards ensuring that at least the urban areas are completely covered through underground cables, because that's where you already have a challenge of this particular infrastructure to take overheads and also undergrounding definitely helps there. But it is again a big infrastructural project which will require time and what we call investment to be made. But definitely undergrounding at distribution level of 33 kV and 11 kV, which is connecting to directly to our houses,
Yeah.
is definitely going to help us in future. And I'm definitely looking forward that we are going towards that direction.
Okay, now I wanted to say that Goa is a tourism hub and stuff like that, but I think over this year it has hit badly. Now I want to understand is every time we have to be ambitious, we have to look into the future and plan ourselves right now. If I want to ask you is because there are a lot of hotels here, there is a lot of infrastructure in terms of catering to hospitality sector. A lot of them, including 5 stars, you say 3 stars, or maybe a small resorts. Everybody has a backup system in terms of generator. I want to know is can GTTPL help upgrade this particular sector and give a new lease of life, because you can't be going back to all this traditional mediums of backups, because then they are harming the environment also, because people come here for that environment, people come here for those great pristine beaches, greenery around, then it is harming back to the nature also. I want to ask you is your take on hospitality sector and your project.
So, as I say, the project itself is envisaged only for the purpose of bringing that particular reliability to the state, which includes for which the hospitality is the major industry. And I've been time and again saying that getting a consistent and uninterrupted power is the most required thing for an hospitality industry to
True.
perform better in terms of cost, in terms of having less environmental impact. Because as you just mentioned, people come here for pristine beaches and nobody likes a DJ set running near their room and having a sound pollution as well as, having a pollution by
Yeah.
bees. So, but that is a necessity for hotel industry as on date because of the shortage what we are
Correct.
facing. And the shortage, as I explained, is not just because you are having less power. Okay, there are people saying that okay, power is sufficient, but it is like just cut to cut. And when that particular thing, one source goes off, you need to balance it out, and then the industry is cut off
Correct.
first. Hotel industry is also cut off. We are only ensuring that power is given to domestic consumers. So definitely, then the industry and hotel industry has to rely on the alternate sources. So when you will have proper infrastructure in place, you will have a sufficient sources, alternate sources available. Then definitely you will be in a position that you need not have to cut any particular
Correct.
industry, any particular this thing for a segment to ensure that power is provided, because you will not get limited power, you will get sufficient power as you require. And again, having said that, we should not only think about what we have.
Yeah.
The plant and infrastructure is always for generations to come.
Yeah.
It is for next many years. So saying
True.
that now we have sufficient power doesn't mean that we will only should build an infrastructure when we will come to that requirement when we are falling
Correct.
short.
Correct.
So we are already at cusp of that we will be soon having shortage.
Okay, also because when you say tourism, it also has events, it also has destination weddings that happen here in Goa, and I think any and every event that happens has a genset backup. I think the hotels themselves tell you that this is not possible. You'll have to get your power sources right for an uninterrupted sources. So I think that is also harming the nature and also the tourism that is coming here. Coming back to your project, sir, I just want to ask you one important question is in terms of your project status report as of now, status, where is it, has it reached one, and also the commissioning timeline that you are planning ahead.
Definitely. So I'm very thankful that the project is moving right now in the construction phase, and thankful for the people who are showing their support in terms for the project. So we have been able to complete 25 numbers of foundations in the 400 kV line which connects Mapusa to
Yeah.
Sangod. So 25 number of foundations for towers have been completed, and we have already erected 6 numbers of 400 kV towers in North Goa,
Yeah.
and the work continues. So we definitely are very happy with the way things are moving. Definitely, been little bit impact because of the COVID situation and this
Correct.
cyclone
True.
things. But yeah, this is something we can always cope up. And we are the team is all focused on towards making sure that we go as per plan and we hit a target of commissioning this particular line by next March 2022. So that's what the timelines we are considering for this Mapusa Sangod and Sangod Shelde 220 kV line and the substation. So this particular phase, first phase, as I said, which will improve the infrastructure for South Goa also connectivity. We are targeting to complete by March 2022.
Okay.
And in this, I can only feel that people, this particular project is for Goa and of the people of Goa. So it should be also by the people of Goa. So just looking forward to the support so we can, our efforts can move in the right direction.
I think I'd just like to end this interview on a note that Goa has to be future ready. We've just seen one natural calamity hitting us and the entire Goa going under darkness. So I think we have to be future ready, whether it is tourism, whether it is hotel, hospitality sector, whether it is the hospitals that are the life-saving machineries that we've all realized they have to be empowered with uninterrupted power supply. I think, sir, thank you very much for joining. It was pleasure to have you on this show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
हे असले निनाद पितळे जे आसा प्रोजेक्ट डायरेक्टर गोवा तमनार ट्रान्समिशन प्रोजेक्ट लिमिटेडचे आणि आमी तांच्या वांगडा संवाद साधतले परत जाणून घेवपाक वॉट आर देयर व्ह्यूज एज दे अप्रोच टुवर्ड्स द प्रोजेक्ट. तुमी खंयच वचो नाकात, पळयत रावात गोवा कनेक्ट.